That day was ending. The sun was setting and clouds were covering the sky. Two of Jesus' friends were walking slowly toward a small town called Emmaus. They were sad, very sad. They talked among themselves about everything that had happened to Jesus. How he had been arrested, how he had been taken before the leaders, how he had been killed on a cross, and now his body was no longer in the tomb. They didn't understand anything. Everything was in confusion. Their hope had been extinguished. Why had Jesus had to die like that? But what they didn't know is that someone was already following them. Someone they knew very well. Can you imagine who? A stranger approached them on the road. Suddenly, someone else began walking with them. He was a quiet man, also traveling along the same road. He asked them, "What are you talking about? And why are you so sad?" They were shocked. How could anyone not know what had happened? One of them, named Cleopas, said to him, "Are you the only one in Jerusalem who doesn't know what has happened?" And they told him everything. Everything, from the cross to the empty tomb. Jesus explains the scriptures step by step. Then this mysterious man began to speak to them calmly. He explained that everything that had happened to Jesus had already been written, that the Messiah had to suffer and then enter into his glory. How beautifully he spoke. Every word he said touched their hearts. He spoke to them about Moses, the prophets, the Psalms. It all made sense. It all came together. But they still didn't know who this man was. Who was that man who spoke with such peace? Why was his heart burning inside, yet they didn't realize it? Something burned in their hearts, but they didn't know what it was. They arrived at Emmaus. The day was almost over. The man seemed to be going on his way, but they said to him, "Stay with us. It's already late and getting dark." He agreed. They went into the house. They sat down to dinner. And just as the stranger took the bread, he gave thanks, broke it, and gave it to them at that moment. The supper, the bread, and their eyes were opened. Yes, at that instant, their eyes were opened. It was Jesus. It was him. Jesus was alive. He had walked all the way with them. He had explained the scriptures to them. He had fed them. But just when they recognized him, Jesus disappeared. Jesus disappears, but he doesn't leave. They were amazed. The broken bread was still in his hands. But Jesus was no longer before their eyes. He was within their hearts. They looked at each other and said, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" Jesus was no longer visible to their eyes, but was already living within them. Have you ever felt your heart burn when you hear something you know is true, but you can't explain it? That's how theirs burned. Jesus was there, and they understood when he broke the bread. Running back to Jerusalem, they couldn't stay there. They couldn't. Even though it was already night, even though they were tired, even though it was no longer safe to leave, they ran back to Jerusalem. 10 kilometers of joy. 10 kilometers with only one message on their lips. Jesus lives. Jesus is alive. The joy of sharing that Jesus is alive. When they arrived with the other disciples, they were all gathered together, also confused. And they told each other everything. How he appeared to them. How he walked with them. How he broke the bread. How their hearts burned. And the others also said, "It's true. He appeared to Simon Peter too." Little by little, everything began to make sense. Jesus wasn't dead. He was more alive than ever. Before continuing, stop for a moment and think. What is touching your heart most in this video? Write in the comments what you learned and add, "Jesus, stay with me forever." If this video is helping you, I invite you to subscribe to continue receiving stories that nourish the soul. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with love. What follows will transform you even more. Let's continue this journey of faith together. Spiritual fruits of the road to Emmaus. The first fruit we discover is that Jesus walks with us even when we don't recognize him. Sometimes we feel like we're walking alone in life, but in reality, Jesus is already at our side, listening to our sorrows and accompanying our steps. The second fruit is that when we are sad, Jesus draws near and listens to us with love. He doesn't mock our tears or turn away when we are confused. On the contrary, he draws closer, like a friend who never abandons us. Another important fruit is that the Word of God has the power to ignite the heart. Just as the disciples felt their hearts burning while Jesus spoke to them, we too can feel a new fire when we listen to the Scriptures with faith. Furthermore, we learn that Jesus remains with us in the breaking of the bread, because in the Eucharist he is truly present, even if we cannot see him with our eyes. Each Mass is a new encounter with him. And finally, we understand that when we let Jesus explain life to us, everything begins to make sense. His words calm our doubts and fill us with hope. And we also discover that after meeting Jesus, we want to tell everyone about him, because the joy of knowing he is alive cannot be kept secret. In this way, our sadness becomes a mission, and our path becomes light. When you feel your journey is long or sad, remember Jesus walking with you. He listens to you. He speaks to you. And when night falls, if you say to him, "Stay with me," he stays. And when you break the bread, you will feel him alive again, very much alive within you, because Jesus walks with you.